In this, we are going to start the second part of this course, that is cyber security, the principles of cyber security. Actually, what is cyber security? What is cyberspace? Cyberspace is the internet space. And today we'll be having a lot of applications, either maybe accessed via mobile phone or maybe via computer or maybe any other device, is internet applications. That means they are communicating via internet. So when the communication is happening via internet and where internet is the public medium, obviously when the things are happening in the public medium, security is the essential task. So in this part of this course, we are mainly dealing with how to what are the different cyber security things available and how to understand those cyber security things and how to safeguard the web application and what are the other security protocols that are useful to safeguard the application as well as the web servers. That we are going to see in this particular part. First of all, we should know what is meant by information security. According to the SANS Institute, SANS Institute is a very famous security training and research institute. Information security refers to the process and methodologies which are designed and implemented to protect print, electronic, or any other form of confidential, private, and sensitive information or data from unauthorized access, use, misuse, disclosure, destruction, modification, or disruption. That means, in any way, in any direction, we are going to safeguard the assets. So, unauthorized access, unauthorized usage, misuse of the items or misuse of the devices, disclosure of the information, destruction of the information, modification or disruption of the communication. In any way, we are going to safeguard with the help of some security methods. This is refers to the information security. So information security is based upon the following five pillars that we are supposed to remember here. One is confidentiality, integrity, availability, authentication, and non-repudiation. Confidentiality means that data need to be accessed by the authorized users. Only authorized users can be in a position to access the data, which is called confidentiality. This confidentiality in security we can achieve with the help of encryption. Whenever a data is encrypted, then only the intended receiver can be in a position to decrypt it so that the data can be read by the receiver. In middle, that means during the transit of the data after encryption, whenever it is in the transit from the sender to receiver, if anyone wants to read the data, since it is encrypted and the related key is not available with the interrupter, so they cannot understand what is happening and what is there in the actual data. That is what is called encryption. Okay, so encryption is the process of converting the plain text to the non-readable text, which is called ciphertext. So this is what the confidentiality. Confidentiality means data need to be accessed only by the authorized users. Integrity, tamper-proof data. That means if some intruder might have intruded into the middle of the communication, if they might have tampered or flipped the bits, then at the receiving end user should know that the data has been tampered. Okay, how it can be done? It is possible with the help of cryptographic hash functions. Okay, the integrity in security in cryptography will be achieved with the help of cryptographic hash functions. So for confidentiality and authentication, we need encryption. Confidentiality, we require encryption. For integrity, we require cryptographic hash functions. Availability, system services to authorized users. That means 24/7, 365 days, the data should be available to the authorized users at any time. Either it may be system service, or it may be data service, or it may be any type of service that must be available to the authorized users. Next one is authentication. Ensures data or documents are intended for genuine users. Okay. So here the main difference between authentication and the confidentiality. Here confidentiality is data need to be accessed by the authorized users. So what is meant by authorized users and what is meant by authenticated users? So here authorization versus authentication. Authentication ensures the data or documents are intended for genuine users. For example, to know the difference between the authorization and authentication, let's recall whenever you are entering into university, you will be asked to show the identity card. So you will be having the from year to 2 year. That means the duration of the year, that year of study in the university, with which the entry level security will understand that hey, you are a authenticated person to enter the campus or not. That means anyone, that is any student with a valid identity card are authenticated to enter into the university campus. For example, currently the 2021 is going on, and your identity card validity is only up to 2020. Then the security may not allow you because you are the validity of the identity card is the identity card is not valid. So thereby he will stop you at the gate level itself. That means you are not the authenticated person to enter into the campus. Okay. So once you are authenticated and entered into the campus, that means you can have access to the library, you can have access to the labs, you can also enter into the classrooms, tutorial sections, you can also enter into various other labs, etc. But if you want to enter into the server room, then you are not an authorized person to enter into the server room. Even though you are authenticated, even though you are an authenticated person to enter into the campus, but you are not authorized to enter into the server room. The server room authorization is only for the persons like the system administrators, network administrators, and only those people can enter into the campus. They are also authenticated. That is the reason they can enter into the campus. But they are also having the special provision to enter into the server room. That means authorization requires authentication. Okay, authorization requires authentication. So authentication, even though you are an authenticated person, but you may not be authorized to utilize some services. It is simply like a bank employee, maybe a manager, maybe an accountant, maybe a clerk. All three are authenticated to enter into the bank, but they are not authorized to access some special services like accessing to the accounts, or maybe the loan section, or maybe the locker section, or maybe any other some high security sections. Only the manager is authorized to enter into any kind of section. So this is what the thin line of difference between the authentication and authorization. I hope you got by this time the difference between the authorization and authentication. So authentication ensures data or document are intended for the genuine users. Next one is non-repudiation. Non-repudiation is nothing but sender or receiver of a message cannot deny the sending or receiving of the message. That means sender has sent the encrypted message to some receiver, and receiver after receiving the data, and he will check the authorization and will decrypt the data, and will understand the receiver, will understand the data sent by the sender. In future, if the receiver wants to claim that this data has been received from so and so sender, then in such a cases, either sender or receiver should not be in a position to deny that the message has not originated from the sender or not for the intended for the receiver. That means in future, they cannot be in a position to deny that this has not been originated by me or maybe is not sent to the particular receiver. It is just like making an agreement between two parties. In order to make the in order to make an agreement and to legalize the agreement, what they do is they will prepare a bond, and both the first party and the second party will sign on that, and it will be notarized or maybe legalized with some legal stamps. So thereby, the agreement will come into force. In future, either the party one or party two cannot deny that I have not agreed to the terms and conditions. The reason is both have signed legally on the document in presence of notary or maybe in presence of the legal authorities. The same concept will also apply here. The non-repetition means the sender of the data cannot deny in future that he has not sent the data. In order to do this, a cryptographic technique will be used for achieving this non-repetition, which is called digital signature. So the confidentiality is the property of the information security that is achieved with the help of the encryption. Integrity is a information security property that can be achieved with the help of the cryptographic hash functions. Availability is one more feature where the data and the system services to be enabled or to be available 24/7, 365 days to the authorized users. Authentication is the one that is achieved with the help of cryptographic keys. Either it may be public key or maybe private key, public key encryption or maybe public private key encryption. Some keys will be used, cryptographic keys will be used to make a person authenticated. Next one is non-repudiation. This property can be achieved with the help of cryptographic function called digital signature. So these are the 5 main properties. And along with this one, not only these 5, actually this availability is not the main consideration. Confidentiality, integrity, and authentication is mainly used, mainly considered as the properties of the information security. Later then availability and non-repetition will be added as the supplementary properties to the information security. First of all, we should understand, before moving on to the other principles of security, first of all, we must understand the differences between the assets versus threats versus vulnerability versus risk. These are the most commonly used terminologies in the security. So what is an asset? Asset is any device or any property that we are going to protect. Either it may be data, or it may be server, or it may be a device, or it may be anything. An asset is what we are trying to protect. Okay, so you can protect the system with the help of the passwords. We can protect the data with the help of encryption. So like that, what we are going to protect, that is what we call asset. A threat is what we are trying to protect against. So what is the meaning of this? A threat is what we are trying to protect against. So we are protecting against the password attacks. We are protecting against the database attacks. We are trying a device or asset against the denial of service attack. So like that, against what? That is what we call threat. A vulnerability is a weakness or gap in our protection efforts. That means vulnerability is nothing but you might have, for example, for your home, there are some 5 to 6 doors are there. So when you are living to some other town, you have locked all the doors, but you don't know there is a ventilator or maybe a window which is somewhat weaker. even though you have locked all the doors, because of that weakness, okay, the robbery may happen. So this is what is called weakness. So identifying of the weakness is the responsibility or maybe the task of the here in this case, in the example case, it may be of the robber. So the robber will go for a recce kind of thing, and he will go for looking here and there what are the weaknesses of that particular building and all. Then he may go for exploiting of that particular weakness. And he identified that there is a problem with the ventilator and there is a problem with the window. And he exploited that and he got that window out. And the window was opened. Then it is an entry for him to get into the building and can go to do any kind of robbery. So like that, the attackers in general will also go through the system and will continuously check for any vulnerability available or not. That is what is called weakness. Either the weakness may be appeared in the security planning, or the weakness may be appeared in the application development itself, or maybe in the server configuration, or maybe system configuration. Okay, this weakness may appear in any way. So the basic idea of the attacker is to exploit or identify the vulnerabilities and exploiting those vulnerabilities. The risk is the intersection of assets, threats, and vulnerabilities. So once that particular vulnerability was exploited, what the damage will happen to the assets? Okay, that is what is called risk. So risk is the intersection of the assets, threats, and vulnerabilities. So what is meant by compromising the system? Compromising the system is nothing but a system which has been compromised or which has been attacked and under the control of the attacker. So when a system is attacked or hacked and the system has come under the control of the attacker, that situation is said to be compromising of the system. So these are the four major terms: assets, threats, vulnerability, and risk. So these are the four main terminologies that are popularly used in the security concepts. And please remember, asset is nothing but the device or the item that we are trying to protect. Threat is what we are trying to protect against. Vulnerability is the weakness or gap in our protection effort. The risk, once this particular vulnerability exploited, what is the serious damage that will happen to the asset is the risk. And risk is the intersection of the assets, threats, and vulnerabilities. And once the system has been hacked and under the control of the hacker, then that situation is said to be the compromising of the system. That means if a system is said to be compromised, it is under the control of the attacker. One more thing is a simple example that I want to say is, for example, in any country, some infiltrators will be there. Infiltrators are one who will come into the other countries without having any legal permit. And they will settle themselves in some corners of the country. For example, a country like India is a very big country. They may settle down at any corner. And they are so vulnerable also because they can be exploited by anyone. The reason is they will be having the fear of caught by the government. So to not to caught by the government, so they may do any kind of work because that is the life and death issue for them. So these infiltrators will be hijacked and will be taken control by some anti-elements so that they will be exploited whenever they want. And these infiltrators will become a serious threat to the country. So if you go for scanning of the computer, you may find so many. Sometimes you may find even the system is working fine. Sometimes you may find some serious threats. So the antivirus have identified some serious threat. Do you want to clean this, quarantine, or some kind of thing? Even the system is working fine, but all of a sudden you have installed an antivirus software and gone for the scanning, and you have surprised that even though system is working fine, you got so many threats. How is it possible? That is what the infiltrators are. So infiltrators are very dangerous to any country. So whenever you want to understand threat, you have to understand the infiltrator. Threats will be there in the country, or infiltrators will be there in the country. They will be very silent, but they can be exploited in such a way that they will become vulnerable and will lead to serious damage to the country's assets, which is called high risk. So as a high number of infiltrators are there will be high risk for the country. And they can be exploited in any way because of their vulnerability of caught by the government. Whenever they caught, they will be sent back. So that is the reason they are ready to do any kind of vulnerable tasks. So I hope you got with this example the difference between the assets, threats, vulnerabilities, and risk. Here are some top information security threats, which are called insider threats, botnets, viruses and worms, mobile application threats, cloud-based threats, IoT application threats, and persistent threats. So threats may be of several things: insider threat and outsider threats. Outsider threats are one like infiltrators which are coming from outside, like terrorists, etc., will come into the country and will do serious damage. Insider threats are one who are within the country and will go for disposing of the threat. So these are the insider threats. So maybe outsiders may influence the insiders to make some serious damage. So this is what the insider threat. So catching the insider threats is very difficult task than the catching the outsiders, because insiders will behave like normal ones. They will be enjoying all rights like normal other citizens will enjoy. In the same way, the insider threats will also enjoy the same facilities of the other applications in the system. So that is the reason it is very difficult for the system or any antivirus to identify it as a threat. And so much evidence is required to prove it as an insider threat. So next one is botnet. Botnet means a group of compromised systems will work towards compromising other systems. Such system is said to be botnet system. It is just like 2-3 members will be there. They are proved guilty. They will make allegation on some other people, and they will make themselves as guilty. So like that, the botnets will work like this. Botnets are the network of compromised systems. They are working towards compromising the other system. Virus and worms. Virus and worms are one which will come along with the softwares that you download from the internet. So viruses usually will spread towards the system, and worms are one whenever any other application come into the contact, these worms will reciprocate, and that these worms will also attach to this new software that will come in contact with that. Either maybe a pen drive or maybe any kind of device that you want to that came into the contact. Mobile application threats. These are especially based upon the for the targeting the mobile applications like the mobile apps, etc. Cloud-based threats. Nowadays, everyone is using the cloud services as system software as a service, infrastructure as service. So they are mainly focusing on the cloud-based things, which is especially like denial of service, etc. That we'll see in the later section of the course. Next, when the Internet of Things, all the small devices connected over the internet, and which is connected again to the cloud and other servers. So, and IoT architecture is not a standardized architecture, because the devices in the IoT will use different protocols, and each protocol may be having some security vulnerabilities. So the threat may come from any kind of any corner or from any device where a very old application or very old protocol is used. Persistent threats, these are the threats which are sponsored by the nations, like typically a nation state or state sponsored groups will sponsor for attacking a computer, which gains unauthorized access to a computer network and remains undetected for extended period. They will keep undetected because they will come into the system and they will keep undetected like that only. Even though you do any kind of antivirus application checking and all, they will be like that only. They will remain undetected. These kind of things are said to be persistent threats. So these are the various top information security threats that will be leading the information security industry, and mainly the applications and methods that are mainly developed based on targeting or identifying these threats. In the next lecture, we'll see how these threats are identified and how to make the countermeasures to deal with these threats.